Okay, so after a slow start to the season, the Cavaliers are now 13-9 and 6th in the Eastern Conference. The team is starting to return to form, and it's starting to make use of its new additions from the offseason, namely George Niang and Max Strus, along with the improving core of Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen, along with the continued excellence of Donovan Mitchell, who, as you might have figured out, is the subject of this video. So the reason I want to talk about Mitchell is that although he's continued to play at a superstar level this year, maybe a tiny bit less, but overall still great play, the reason I'm talking about him is because, while there's been a lot of talk about both his style of play and how it affects the team, and his, it seems like, permanent discussion or rumors around his contract situation, which, if you're somehow not aware, the main idea is Mitchell is inevitably going to be traded from the Cavaliers to a bigger destination, basically because he has no intention of signing an extension to stay in Cleveland. Now, that's not confirmed or anything, it's just rumors, but it's been coming up so often that I'm not going to say I believe it, but there's certainly doubt, in other words. Now, maybe I'm just very gullible, which honestly is a real possibility with me, but at least on the surface, it does seem plausible that Mitchell would eventually want to be out of Cleveland. I mean, his initial trade from the Jazz was rumored to be to the Knicks, but they wouldn't give up as many assets as Cleveland would. So if you look at it from the point of view of Mitchell being traded to a place where that wasn't his ultimate preference, that was going to be the Knicks, then the rumors, they start to hold more weight. Now, I'm not saying Mitchell doesn't want to be in Cleveland. He's played really well and, for all intents and purposes, seems to enjoy his time on the team. No one can deny he's made the Cavaliers better. They improved from 44 wins in 2021-22 season to 51 wins in last year's, in the 2022-23 season, and they even made the playoffs as well. Now, they did end up getting quickly eliminated by the same team that Mitchell wanted to join in the first place, but that's a different story. But the main idea is, if there's a chance Mitchell is either going to be traded or somehow make it to free agency in a couple years and then just leave Cleveland, then are the Cavaliers better off trading him away right now and collecting a lot of value in return versus risking the chance that he finishes out his contract and leaves to a different destination? Now, me personally, I don't want to say definitively that I want him away from the Cavaliers or to definitively stay. I think it's too early to say exactly what the best scenario is for him. So a little explanation here. Basically, Mitchell is putting up all-star numbers, even all-NBA numbers at his level right now. And by all means, he looks likely to continue that level of production just as he continued it for years on the Jazz. The issue is, are his skills and his style of play the best complement to what Cleveland has already with their core three of Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland? So far this season, Mitchell's averaging 27 points, 5.3 assists, and 5.9 rebounds on 45% shooting, which is still a high level of production. But the season has also seen a continued improvement from Darius Garland, who is the point guard on the team. And Garland's showing a lot of improvement specifically in playmaking, as well as reading the floor, being really developing from just being a scoring guard. Well, he was a combo guard even before, but now I guess he's more of a combo guard, if that makes sense. His playmaking has taken a big leap, is what I'm trying to say. Meanwhile, Donovan Mitchell, who mostly plays the two-guard position, he's definitely been more of an isolation scorer, and even though there are certainly games where he distributes the ball pretty well, a lot of possessions in a lot of games basically devolve into Mitchell going one-on-one and the other players basically standing around. And that's not new. Mitchell's been doing this his whole career ever since the Jazz. So it's not exactly a new development. But the reason I bring it up is that if there's an opportunity to rearrange the team, to make it less focused on isolation, in this case by trading away Donovan Mitchell, then I think the Cavaliers should take that. Now, of course, there are caveats to this. I'm not saying for a small market team like Cleveland to just trade away their star player while they're contending. I mean, this is not a rebuilding team, and certainly they shouldn't trade him away for first-round picks. But if the return is there for 2 or 3 solid players, or even maybe an all-star player in return for Mitchell, then I say why not? Now, Mitchell isn't old or anything, he's still 27, he's just entered his prime. So there's always a chance that he just improves his game, he changes his game to be more distributive, and he starts cutting down on those dead possessions. But given his development on the Jazz and his first 2 years in Cleveland so far, I don't think he's going to end up significantly transforming himself. And that's why, when thinking about these rumors, obviously I don't want them to lose a star player, because we all know how hard it is for small market teams to get free agents these days, or really ever. And especially hard to trade for them as well. They did sacrifice a big haul to get Mitchell in the first place. It's a tough situation for Cleveland to be in, because on the one hand, you could take the risk and keep Mitchell up until his contract expires, in which case he walks for nothing. But on the other hand, you've built a contending core. Now, they're still young, of course, but this core they have, along with the pieces they've added in the offseason, this has all the makings of a consistent playoff team, so by all means, the rebuild is basically over. I don't see much point in trading the player they traded for basically a lot of picks. You don't want picks, you want an established star, which is hard to do in this environment, at least right now, because the only player of significant value on the market seems to be Zach LaVine, who really wouldn't change Cleveland's situation much. My favorite scenario is basically for Mitchell to take another step up in his game, become more of a distributive player, and that way the Cavaliers don't have to mess up their really good thing they've built these last couple of years. Now, with the way the new bargaining agreement works, the player union's agreement that they signed into effect last year, the way it works is it's going to make superstar trades a lot more common than free agency. As a matter of fact, it makes them more valuable. So there's even the chance that Mitchell does decide to stay on, but he ends up requesting a trade eventually anyway, which would be a whole different can of worms, because at that point, Cleveland basically has to deal him and hope for the best possible return, or keep him and hope that he continues his level of play while in a place that he doesn't want to be. But as I mentioned before, my preference is for the Cavaliers to continue with what they have right now. I'm a big fan of a lot of small market teams this year, especially the Cavaliers, who I rooted for ever since the LeBron days. I want their continued success, so I don't want this to seem like another big star traded to LA or New York or Miami or whatever. Those kind of videos. The way I see it, you don't have that amount of rumors around one player if nothing's happening, like where there's smoke, there's fire. Anyway, for now, let's see how far the Cavaliers can go with their current roster, because, like I said, they are 6th in the East and they are getting better, especially on defense, where they've risen to 4th in the league in defensive rating. So hopefully they can keep that pace up and make the playoffs again this year, and hopefully make it past the first round, which I admit is a tough ask considering how good the top 3 seeds in the East are this year. But hopefully continued player improvement will be enough to give them a fighting chance. So anyway, that's what I think about the Donovan Mitchell situation, and I'd like to hear what you have to say, especially if you're a Cavalier fan yourself. Would you want to keep Mitchell, or would you want to see what the franchise can get in a potential trade for him? That's all for now, and I'll see you later.